Hi, Red here. As promised, I thought I would do a little photo montage of all the events over the year. First off, we'll start with the first picture I took this year, which was I went for a hike. It was significantly warmer last year than it is now. It's like 10 degrees outside here in Kentucky. Our pipes are frozen, and we're not going anywhere until it warms up. But the beginning of last year, I took a lovely hike down to one of my favorite places on our property. It's this lovely little waterfall with a pool. I also went to our lake and saw a deer swimming, like, just straight across the lake. It was so cool. I had never seen that before. You know, I'd seen the deer wander around the lake and get in the water, but not actually swim. I also got to see a beaver that day, and I wish I had had a better camera with me to be able to capture it. They were so cool. So anyway, after that, I got a really cool coffee mug. My husband found it for me, and I like this picture because I always say I make my coffee with sensu beans, or it raises my power level to over 9,000. There are lots of nerd comments that could be made on that one. Then this is one of our first date nights that we went. I think we went and saw Logan with this one. Yeah, there's my handsome man. Yeah, I think this was when we went and saw Logan, or we could have went and did something else. I don't remember. It's been a long time. I've forgotten. Slept since then. But then it was back to school, and here I was finishing my degree last year, and here you can see my lovely cat, Dunadan, trying to help. She kept pulling the pencil out of my hand as I was working on my, I think this is public speaking class? Maybe. Yeah, that's public speaking. So yeah, the cat kept trying to help by taking the pencil out of my hand. We also had a brush fire near us. It was about a mile away from our home. And in fact, the authorities had contacted us and told us to be ready to evacuate if need be. In the top picture, you can see in the background the scorched earth, how much brush was burned in this fire. I don't remember how many acres they said, but it was a significant amount of land. Luckily, nobody was hurt, nobody lost their homes. It was all just a brush fire, and they got it contained, I believe, within the day. Also, last year, I had lots of opportunities to get my hands dirty. Here's just a couple. I had, in the top one, I am putting a seal on the water pump of our car because it kept overheating. Still does. Still haven't figured that out, but we also aren't using it anymore. And we also had to install a new water heater for my parents, but in order to install the water heater, we had to take apart the door frame of the closet that the water heater's in, so that was fun. It still didn't fit right, and I told them they're not allowed to move that water heater for a while. Moving on, we finally got snow last year. I guess it was March. It went from being like 60 degrees and sunny to snow within like 3 days. But that's Kentucky, so that's typical. But what little snow we had was lovely while it lasted, and we didn't have too much because there's nothing worse than getting snowed in. A few weeks later, this is literally like 2 weeks later, one of my favorite things to do in springtime in Kentucky is to go mushroom hunting, to look for morels. I love them, and I love hunting for them, and it's an excuse to go hike. So here's one of my other hikes of the year. As you can see, the waterfall in this one is significantly more full, and I found a little baby snapping turtle on this one, which was really cool because it looked just like a leaf in the pool, and his tail was a lot longer than, say, like an adult snapping turtle, and it looked just exactly like a muddy leaf. But I was able to pick him up and hold him, and it was really cool. I let him go, and he's back where he needs to be. This is one of the things I knitted this year. My son loves octopi and all cephalopods, but I knitted him this little slippery octo, which is, I guess it would be his gamer tag. All of his game characters are called slippery or octo or some variation thereof. He really, really, really likes octopi. This year we had about 3 or 4 snakes come in the yard. These are non-venomous, good snakes, so I don't hurt them. In fact, I would welcome them in my yard anytime. They keep the venomous ones, away. Where we live, we do get from time to time copperheads and water moccasins and even the occasional rattlesnake. So having these good snakes keeps those bad snakes away. In May, I finally got my Isabelle from Animal Crossing in my blind box. which made me very, very happy. I think I squealed like a little girl when I opened it. Also in May, I finished my degree. So here's my graduation pictures. After I took my last final, my husband took me out for margaritas because he's such a good man. And he also baked the lovely pink fox cake, which was gluten-free and one of his first baking attempts, so we will forgive the exceedingly thick icing and odd fox shape. My dad got me a bottle of my favorite bourbon. He knows the way to his daughter's heart. I love bourbon. It's right up there with scotch as some of my favorite things on the planet, so yay! And there at the bottom picture is my husband and my son at my graduation ceremony. Moving on, in June, my mom and I went on a super grand adventure, and this is us waiting at the airport to fly to Orlando, which was both of us flying for the first time. Which was fine. I figured my mom would be a total basket case because she panics easily, but she was like totally zen and chill. And it was like, I didn't know who that woman was on the airplane because she was just like, oh yeah, this is great. Turbulence? Okay, I don't mind. It was completely different from how she normally is. Also, when we were in Orlando, my best friend, who is on the left with the glasses and the pineapple shirt, surprised my mom with a trip to Epcot. Mom had never been to any of the Disney parks, and everyone else in her family had. And since we were in Orlando a few days before our flight to the UK, we arranged so that we could surprise Mom with a trip to Epcot, and she cried, and like everything that she saw. When she hugged Mickey, she cried. She got on her first ride, she cried. Shortly after this picture was taken, she cried. It was an amazing opportunity to watch my mom do that. She had so much fun. Okay, so this is us at, I think we're in the French area at Epcot. And then the bottom one is us at the Moroccan one, which I absolutely loved. The food was amazing. And then here we are right before our flight to London with my mom and my best friend. This was kind of like our, hey, we need a break and our one vacation that we'll probably ever get to do. And we're going to England and we're going to Scotland and we're going to have fun for a few weeks without our men. And that's exactly what we did. Anyway, here we are in London. I got to see the tower, which was my absolute favorite part because, hello, look how close I got to the Ravens. Yes, that close to the Tower Ravens. I had a total little fangirl meltdown when I realized they were that close. We were standing in line to see the crown jewels, which I was like, yeah, whatever. And then I saw the Ravens, and I was like, oh my god, it's the Ravens! This is us at a pub in the Cotswolds in England, which was really cool. And, oh yeah, this is the Globe Theatre, which I wish we would have had time to tour, but we did get to see it from the river, which was really cool. Oh, this is the octopus that I knitted for my son. I took it with me and took pictures of him all over. The first one is him having an espresso in our hotel in London. The bottom left-hand one is... Actually, I think I took this one at like 10 o'clock at night in Edinburgh to show just how crazy bright it still was. And then this is the train from London to Edinburgh there in the right-hand corner. Ooh, this was... we took the train from London to Edinburgh, which is totally an awesome way to travel. Loved it. This was one of the views out the train window. Totally awesome. Here we are. This is Edinburgh Castle, which was one of my favorite places to visit. It was so beautiful and so historic and so cool that it was still a functioning military base, which I thought was really neat. And then also when we were in Edinburgh, we saw not Stirling Castle, we saw Holyrood House, which is where the Queen stays when she's in Scotland, which was cool. And it was attached to the ruins of an abbey, which was really neat. We also then went and climbed Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, which is totally worth it. It was gorgeous, unbelievably hot and windy. In fact, my friend and I laughed that we got more sun in Edinburgh than we had when we were in Orlando, because it was rainy and cold when we were in Orlando. And it was hot and sunny in Edinburgh. Here we are up at the top, and you can see just forever. Yeah, Arthur's Seat. Totally windy, totally not an easy climb. I suppose if you're used to it, it would probably be an easy climb. There were people just like jogging up it, and I'm like, what? But it was worth it, and it was a lot of fun. This is the view from Arthur's Seat. toward the ocean, obviously. This was taken our last night in Edinburgh, as we were getting ready for bed. I think it was maybe 11 o'clock at night. All of a sudden, the fire alarms went off in our hotel, and we have had to evacuate the entire hotel and go to a hotel further up the Royal Mile, and we were all just, sitting around for about 30 minutes. They finally let us all back in, and we found out it was because somebody left a toaster plugged in, and it set off the fire alarms, and apparently this happens, all the time at this hotel, but emergency services had to come and check it out before we could all come back to our rooms. So yeah, that was our last adventure there in Edinburgh. From Edinburgh, we went to Traquair House, which is near Peebles, and it is the oldest inhabited house in Scotland. And I don't remember when it was built, in the 1100s or something. Absolutely gorgeous and just totally cool historical things. Beautiful. We spent the night there, and the guest quality, the bed and breakfast food, and the way we were taken care of was absolutely top notch. It was just a beautiful experience. And here's a few of my mom. These yew trees that she's sitting on here are older than the house, and you can actually have your wedding or party there in the yew trees, which I think is super cool. And the bottom right-hand one is my mom swinging with Traquair House in the background, because she's a little kid at heart. And this was a really cool gate that, we had to open it in order to drive the car through to unload our luggage, and then close it back, and it was really neat. Oh, so after Traquair, we went to Stirling, and Stirling Castle, and as I talked about in my last video, that's where I got my great bra. And if you're ever in Stirling, Scotland, go to the Personal Touch bra shop. It's right there on the main little thoroughfare. Totally cool. Anyway, I loved Stirling Castle, mainly for the architectural elements. You can see in the top right-hand picture the differences in the architecture styles from when different parts were added, and I thought it was just so cool. It was phenomenal. It had a more museum-y feel than Edinburgh Castle. Edinburgh Castle was very bare bones, and this was a castle, stronghold. But this one had more hands-on features for the kids, and they had restored some of the tapestries and the wood carvings on the ceilings and stuff like that. So it was got more of an idea of what it would have been like to actually live in Stirling Castle. Here are just some cool, odd pictures that I took at Stirling Castle. I loved the Gothic windows and the little arrow shoot things and this little tiny fern. I got to play dress up at Stirling Castle, and I love to play dress up, so I was like a little kid. In fact, this area there in the bottom right-hand picture was for children, but I was like, no, I'm playing dress up. In the top picture, you can see some of the differences in architecture, which I think is so cool. And from Stirling, we went to Oban. One of my favorite things in Oban was the distillery that we got to tour. Oban 14 is a delicious scotch. It's one of my new favorite scotches. Oban 14 is really, really good. But yeah, I loved jacket potatoes with baked beans and cheddar. It's so good. Can't eat potatoes anymore though, so alas. And Oban is there on the bay, so you got a really nice view of that every morning. From Oban, we went to Barra, which was the highlight for my mom because it is an island in the Outer Hebrides, and it is the ancestral seat of the MacNeil clan, and my mom is a MacNeil. She was super excited to get to see the castle, which you can see in the top picture there is Kissimmel Castle, the original MacNeil stronghold. And the bottom picture is her on the ferry. Really enjoyed traveling on the Calmac ferries from Oban to the Hebrides. If you notice, I don't know if you can see it in the top picture, that little yellow building is the police station, and there is clothes hanging out on the line, and I just thought that was so hilariously funny that the police station was this one-room building that they actually had to hang their washing out on the line. Because Barra is a little tiny island. It's one of the smaller islands in the Hebrides, so yeah, it was really cool. This is another one of the beaches at Barra. Really cool. These are some that I took at Kissimmel Castle, which is the MacNeil Castle there on Barra. I just thought they were artsy. There's better ones of the actual building that other people took, but I take bizarre pictures, so there we go. This was on our way back we were heading to Glasgow from Oban, and I believe this is Loch Lomond. And here's some different Highland animals that we got to see. We got sheep. The sheep in the top left-hand picture that's on Barra. That was the only road on Barra, and as you can see, the sheep owned it. They were like totally in the middle of the road and gave the car just like filthy looks for, being on their road. And then in the upper right-hand corner, we have the Highland Coo. These cows are like super fuzzy, totally fuzzy cows. They're amazing. And then the little bunny that we saw in Oban, just like totally didn't care that our car was there. And these sheep, I believe, were at Traquair House. Little black-faced sheep, so cute. This was early morning, right before my mom and I flew back from Florida to Kentucky. End of our grand adventure. And I do have to say that Dallas, he missed me a lot. He cried when I got off the plane. He was grouchy because I had been gone for too long and very emotional, but it was totally worth it. I had an unbelievably wonderful time. It was a lot of fun. After I was back for a while, we went swimming, me and my boys, at the local state park. Got to wear my Goku tank top, which I don't get to wear very often. It was a lot of fun. Oh, yeah. We had a bat in the house, which took me totally by surprise. I got up around 11 o'clock to go make sure my son was asleep and off the Xbox, and I see this large brown thing fly at my head. And I'm like, it's just a moth, and I don't think anything of it. Go in, make sure the little guy's in bed. Come back out, see it flying around, and realize, that's not a moth, that's a bat. And the picture quality is crap because I was not getting to get close to said bat to try to get a decent picture of it, and for about an hour, my husband and son and I tried to get that bat out of the house. We did eventually get it out of the house, but that was interesting. Then, of course, we were in the path of totality for the eclipse, so that was really, really cool. That was a fun couple of minutes there, observing, taking pictures. Then we had another late night visitor, our possum, that apparently has decided to live on our front porch. He's out there a lot now, but I don't mind possums because they keep some of the other critters away, ticks and whatnot. So yeah, it scared the crap out of my little dog. I have a Jack Russell Terrier who's 14 years old, blind, deaf, moody. Needless to say, he was not happy with the possum on the front porch. Okay, in September, my husband and I celebrated our 15th wedding anniversary. Here's a picture of Dallas and I on our wedding day. We both look very young and unburdened by the troubles of the world. Anyway, I still love him, probably a little bit more now than I did then. Last 15 years have been an adventure and a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to the next 15 with him. He's a little cutie. This was a knitted jackalope head that I made for my father-in-law. He's an avid hunter and has taxidermied deer heads all over his house. Being a vegetarian and a non-hunter has never really bothered me, but I thought it would be just funny to knit him a little jackalope head. I knitted my mother-in-law a full-size stuffed jackalope several years ago, and so I finished, I was like, hey, I'll do this one for him, and he got a kick out of it, so that's all that matters. This was in November, so we're up to November now. Yay! My cat, this is Thufir, by the way, decided she was going to help me write my novel for NaNoWriMo. And she actually typed a whole line of 3s before I finally got her head off my keyboard. Yeah, helpful cats. Ooh, yeah, and I found this super cute fox hat, which has delighted me to no end. It's got little paws on the end of the scarf. And every time I wear it, I giggle, because it just makes me happy. And then, before it got super bitter cold, my son and I went for a hike down, again, my favorite spot, the waterfall, and I have an odd obsession with taking pictures of my shoes over creeks. It's just a thing that I do, but anyway, there they are. That was at the end of November. And there's my finished manuscript. My NaNoWriMo 51,000 word manuscript. Yay! oh yeah, this was really cool. So just a few weeks ago, on the way to my chiropractor appointment, my mom and I saw this bald eagle just like less than 2 miles from our home, and it was eating the deer carcass, but it was really cool. I mean, he like flew and landed on the post and just like sat there, and we got a lot of pictures of him. It was really cool. And then of course we went and saw Star Wars, which, you know, we've already talked about, but there's that. And these are just a bunch of random pictures from my year. So that was everything that happened. I did a lot, accomplished a lot, had a crazy busy year. Hopefully this year will maybe not be calm, because I can't expect that, but maybe not quite so hectic. Maybe. Anyway, so in my next video, I think I'll talk about New Year's resolutions and why they don't always work and what my plans for the year are. We'll see you next time. Love you guys. Bye!